Okay, so are you guys looking for a budget, balanced, and clean sounding IEM? Look no further, this may be the one. Hi guys, my name is Ian. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I do mostly audio product reviews, and if you guys are new to my channel, do consider to subscribe and click on the bell so that you get notified of my future videos. Alright, so 7 Hz Salnotes 0, and this one is currently retailing for $20 and it comes in 3 colors, white, black, and blue. Okay, the one I have here is white, and it has a single dynamic driver in it, a 10mm dynamic driver with a metal diaphragm. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the accessories, the fit, comfort, specs, and the sound performance of this IEM. Right, so the box, right, so comes in a box like this, a very simple box, in fact very similar to KZ and CCA type of budget box. And inside the box you will find some user guide and the specs. Right, so this is specs, a very brief specs. 32 ohms for the impedance, sensitivity is 110, the frequency response is 10 to 20,000 hertz. Yeah, so a very standard specs there. Also, you'll find in the box is this cable. Right, so this cable I mean, it's a good quality cable, right? Very good quality cable, but I have two issues. First issue is the cable is a little bit on the stiff side. Okay, it's very stiff. It tends to have a mind of its own, whereby it wants to whip and twist to its liking. So I wish that this cable was a little bit softer so that it's easier to manage, easier to mangle. Next issue is the ear hooks. Ear hooks is a little bit stiff, and it tends to tug the earphones out from my ears, right? And that will make me lose my seal. So I wish that this ear hooks were a little bit softer, right? So it can conform to the shape of my ears. But other than that, this is a good slim cable, a very good quality cable. You can feel it's not so rubbery. In fact, it's not rubbery, it's a bit smooth, and very comfortable to touch. Okay, ear tips. So it has got two types of ear tips, 6 pairs in total, the normal bore and the narrow bore, which I can find. Okay, so yeah, you have the normal bore. Right, this is not exactly wide bore, this is just normal bore, and this is the narrow bore. All right, so it depends on what you want to listen to, I mean, and also the track. So the normal bore one is more for balance listening, balance tuning, and the narrow bore is it will boost the bass a little bit. Okay, ear tips are fine, it's good. It's not the best, but it's good. Right, the flange is it's quite soft. Right, it's not very stiff, so it's pretty good to give the seal. So yeah, not bad for the ear tips. Now the earphones themselves, the Salnotes 0, as you can see, is a very unique shape, and in fact this is the first time I see this type of shape. Very unique to the eye and very eye-catching as well. So it's got this metal faceplate here, brushed aluminum, and of course the branding here. On the inner shell, it's got this like a ceramic countertop type of finish, very glossy, very smooth to the touch, and it looks like a car paint. This white here looks like a very nice glossy white car paint. And on the top here you do get the 2-pin connector, and it's good that it's like a certain angle, it's not like flat. Okay, and then the nozzle here, nozzle is a little bit short for me. Okay, so I hope that the nozzle is a little bit longer, so it gives me a deeper insertion. And then it comes with a metal filter. Okay, it's got some vents here as well. So yeah, this IEM is a very unique shape. Okay, first time I'm seeing. Now, fit and comfort. So as I mentioned just now, the nozzle, I hope that this nozzle is a little bit longer, so it gives me a deeper insertion. And also it's very comfortable. It doesn't give me any physical fatigue. It does not hurt my ear at the back here, and I can wear this the entire day, no problem. Very comfortable to use. Gives me a good seal as well. So in fact, I sometimes need to remove the IM when I'm talking to someone. So it doesn't have, of course, ambient mode. This is not a wireless, not a true wireless. But yeah, so if I need to talk to someone, I will have to remove this from my ears. But gives me a good seal. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the sound performance of this IM, and now, I just want to say $20 is a very, very cheap price, right? For this type of tuning. This has got a very pure and clean and balanced type of tuning, very analytical and clinical delivery of the sound. So I would say at this price, you're not going to find anything that's close to this type of analytical and sterile type of listening, a very clean type of delivery. So, but it's not suitable for everyone, all right? So not everyone will appreciate this type of tuning, but most of us as audiophiles, for me included, right? I like this style of tuning, whereby I can appreciate my mids without the bass being overtaking the entire mix. Okay, so let's talk about the soundstage. Soundstage is wide to the sides, not just to the front. It's got width to the sides as well. Very prominent type of layers, and the sound separation is very good for this price, $20, and you can actually image the instruments in their respective positions. So I think for $20, this is performing very well. Okay, for the sound separation and the imaging, as I mentioned, is very detailed. Is positioned correctly based on its what I hear. Okay, so I think for sound separation, imaging is fantastic. For the detail retrieval and resolution, nuances can be picked up very clearly, and I would say is okay, very, very good, but not the best type of resolution and detail retrieval. So I would say for $20 is performing above its price point. Okay, so technicalities on this IM is just fantastic. Okay, you can't find anything that is delivering this technicalities at this price, $20. Right, so let's talk about the sound signature, and for that, let me bring out my graph. Be right back. Okay, so I am back, and as you can see, I have graphed out this 7 Hz Salnotes 0, and this is close to Harman target tuning. So I think in terms of the overall listening experience is very clean, very some people will call it boring, especially bass heads. Bass heads will call this tuning boring. There's not much excitement to it, not much intensity in terms of the bass. There's not much intensity of the treble in terms of the sparkle and the brightness. For me, this sounds like a very, very accurate, balanced tuning. Okay, and what I listened this with, right, the source that I used is the Hip Deck 2, right, the Hi-B R5, and of course with the phone, right. So this is my iPhone and a few decks. Now I would say this one is quite sensitive to the source. At the same time, is quite difficult to drive, right? You can still drive it with a phone. It's just that you need to crank up the volume. That's all, right? But other than that, it's pretty okay to drive, right? And it's quite sensitive, whereby if you have like a neutral source like this, it will sound neutral, more neutral. And if you have a warm source like this, it will sound warmer. All right, so pretty sensitive to the source. That's why I think I will be using this as a reference IEM. So I will cleanse my ear before I try to test other IEMs. So this is the go-to IEM in terms of referencing and monitoring. Okay. So sub bass, as I mentioned, is very polite. All right, it's not a forward sub bass, very demure type of sub bass, very light light tone and lightweight in terms of the bass. The rumble is good and well controlled. It's not overly done. At the same time, it's not recessed. It's not pronounced as well. So sub bass, I would say, not for bass hits, but for us who listen to more of a mids, this sub bass is just nice. For the mids is also I would say demure and polite. It's clean, it's controlled, it doesn't bleed, it doesn't impede into the mids, and it's not a very forward type of mid bass. So I would say mid bass, sub bass, they are very well controlled and contained. All right, it's contained and it doesn't involve itself in the rest of the frequency. Okay, so I think for the bass region is nicely tuned. For the mids, right? So mids, where the pianos, the violins, the guitars, they sound forward, all right, and they have the room to shine because the mid bass and the sub bass is not overtaking the entire frequency. So this is where you can hear the instruments very clearly. Instruments, they have a very natural tone to it. It's not heavy note weighted, it's natural note weighted, pretty lean, right? And it sounds correct, very I would say not neutral but a bit natural. And the clarity is there because it's not muddled by the mid bass and the sub bass. So very clean mids. So for those of you who likes to listen to instruments, this is a very good tuning. It's a little bit forward, and it is actually good in terms of my listening preference. Okay, for vocals, so female vocals and male vocals, they both sound natural and not those type of warmish type of authoritative and energetic type of tone in the presence of the vocals. They sound just as what the artist intended us to hear. So in terms of the male vocals, they have got that natural tone, natural presence. They somewhere, of course, in the center stage, and where the instruments and the percussions are being placed, and they sound just at that balance point, right? So if you're expecting a very authoritative, very heavy note weighted, and very engaging type of male vocal, this may not be it, right? It's there. It's supposed to sound how it's supposed to sound, very natural. Same for female vocals also. Female vocals, it's got that brightness there, right? The brightness and that energy is just nice, and that sparkle is also just nice. It's not overly done. It's not overly forward, overly energetic. Some people may like, treble heads may like those type of energy and that presence of the female vocals, but for this one, it's not overly present, overly energetic. It's just nice for, in fact, most of us who appreciate female vocals to listen to, right? So I think for vocals, it's not for those people who really want to focus on that real presence of them, but it's just that it blends into the entire mix together with the percussions and of course the instruments as well. Now treble, and what I hear, all right, is that it's more of equal type of level. It's not too bright, it's not too recessed, it's not dark as well. And it's got a good gain, all right, a good presence, but it's just a little bit less energetic for me. So I wish that maybe they can increase the energy a little bit so that it gives me more engagement to what I'm listening to. But other than that, treble, they've got good natural tone, good natural roll off as well. Extension is good, the resonance is good. Hi-hats, cymbal strikes, the shakers and the claps, they sound very natural, and it doesn't sound sharp. No sibilance at all, and no shoutiness, no harshness to the treble. I mean, this part here, maybe some people may find it a little bit harsh, but to me, I find it okay. I don't find any harshness for the treble. Okay, so that's the entire frequency itself. On the whole, as I mentioned, this is a very clean and clinical delivery of sound for $20. And sometimes I've listened to a few $100, a few $1,000 IEMs, and sometimes I compare this with them. It sounds just on par, it's just below par maybe, but at $20, right, you're gonna miss out a lot if you don't get this, right? So if you like those type of clinical and critical type of listening, like classical, right, especially classical, jazz, vocals, instrumental songs, this IM is just suitable for that. But of course, there's the other spectrum for those bass heads who listen to a lot of EDM and techno and those really electronic songs and very bassy type of songs, R&B. Yeah, this IM may not be suitable for those type of genre of music. Okay, so I would recommend this, especially for those who listen to classical. Right, so that's my overall view and impression of this Salnotes Zero. I hope you guys learned something from this video and also enjoyed yourself watching this video. And if you did, do consider to give this video a thumbs up. Right, so that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.